Hey team, how you doing? Welcome to day 2. How did you guys enjoy day 1? Did you like it? Did you do the homework? More importantly, because remember, if you don't take action, you won't change. One of the most important parts of this 5-day challenge is making sure that you take action. So hopefully you took action and that you enjoyed the training yesterday, you enjoyed the Q&A. Certainly, it was an epic first day for me. I cannot believe we have so many people in this group and so many new people in the challenge. It really, really is exciting to have you guys here. So, we're going to dive into the content today. Today is all about discovering. I'm just going to pull up my notes here. Today is all about discovering your why not. Okay. And actually, discovering your why not is probably more important, I would say, even than discovering your why, because many of us actually know why we want things. And even if we don't like connect deeply to it, like I was teaching you yesterday, we do know why. Would you have an idea of why we want something, even if it's a shallow goal? Like I, for many years, had goals about wanting my bum to look amazing because I wanted, people to look at me the way I looked at other girls who had like these amazing, butts, these amazing asses, right? That I would have seen, walking down the beach. I remember once being in Marbella years ago in Spain and seeing this girl walking down the beach, and she had the most glorious ass. And I mean glorious. Now she would have been probably, I would say, in her early 30s. She had, two young kids with her, but she really, really looked good. Like she was really muscular and her ass looked amazing. And like I was professional bodybuilder at the time, so I had a really good body. I had loads of muscle tone. But this girl, I just remember looking at her glutes. Now she was Spanish, and the Spanish have amazing glutes anyway. But I remember looking at her glutes and just thinking, holy God, look at that woman. And I imagine people looking at me that way. That really spurred me on to, build my glutes and to hip thrust and do all the heavy squats and all the heavy stuff for a long time. I remember whenever I just, anytime I didn't feel motivated or I didn't, feel like getting up and going to the gym or doing the heavy squat set, honestly, I would just remember back to seeing that girl and her glorious glutes on the beach, and it would just give me like a bit of fire and a bit of oomph to get going. So a lot of us do have our why, and our why, is strong, maybe not strong enough to motivate us, and that is important. But the next step in what you really, really have to master is your why not, because your why not is actually the killer of all dreams. Like it's the reason that we don't follow through on our fitness plans. It's the reason we don't follow through on making money or starting a business or getting a new job. And actually, the why not, which I'm going to teach you today, can be split into a couple of different reasons. But if you can conquer this and you can overcome this and you can discover what your why nots are, because it's not usually just one thing, it's usually quite a few things. If you can discover those things, it will literally change your life. It will change your life. So let me start with a story. I have a friend that I was chatting to actually just yesterday, and it's funny because she works with a coach. Actually, she works with a mindset coach. And I said to her, did you meet with your coach this week? And she said, yes, I did. And I said, what were you working on? And she said, well, I was actually working on vaping because she vapes. And I said, really? I said, wow. I said, do you want to stop? And I have known she's wanted to stop for a while. And she said, yeah, I do. She said, I was working on that. And she goes, and I made some really big breakthroughs. And this was all about her why not, and she wanted to ask my advice about it. Now, the interesting thing about this friend, or not the interesting thing, is, but she's fit and she's healthy and she's slim and she's active every day. She's a very active job, but she has vaped for a long time, and it has been something in her mind that she should give up, right? She's had a should about it. We always say she's been shooting all over herself. So she's been like, oh, I should give this up. It's not healthy, because she does have like an ideology of being healthy and being fit and being, um, well, healthy and fit, I guess, all of those things. And so she's wanted to give up for a while. So, but she never really had a strong enough reason to give up. And this, I just want to tie this story into her why, and why it's important. But her husband was recently diagnosed with high blood pressure, and she he decided that he was going to start running, and he joined a running club, and it was like a couch to 5k kind of thing. So you joined this club and you went and you did these different, running things, and you ran for, you ran for a certain amount of time, and then you walk, and then you run, and then you walk, and you build it up over time. And I think that you meet in the park and you have a coach. And so they got involved in this club. So she has no interest in running whatsoever, never did have any interest in running. But she decided to support him. She wanted to support him losing a bit of weight, getting healthier, getting fitter, bringing down his blood pressure, that kind of stuff. So she said, yes, I will come and I will do this with you. So the two of them started doing this together. So that became actually one of her strongest whys. She wanted to support her husband. And it's amazing how sometimes we will do things for other people more than we will do things for ourselves. But your why really is not important. If your why is supporting someone else and that's what gets you going, then that's fantastic. Because don't forget that it's remember I said yesterday that emotion spawns motion. So she has a feeling, or she loves her husband and she really wants to support him, and she wants him to have a long and healthy life because they have a daughter. And her feelings around her husband was the thing that kind of got her going. And it's amazing how once you get going, amazing things happen. Like the hardest part, I always say the hardest part about getting to the gym, about going to the gym, sorry, is actually getting there. Because once you're there and you walk in the door, you may as well work out. So, quite often, achieving a goal is really just a next step process, right? You just need to start something. But the problem is, most of us make it far, far, far too big. This massive goal where we have to eat healthy and we have to get up early in the morning and we have to go running and we have to go to the gym, we have to do all these things. So we make it far, far too big. And we're never going to achieve all of that in one go, because that's a very complex task you've tried to take on from a very, very small starting point. It's like you saying, I'm going to start a business and trying to do everything at once. It just wouldn't work that way. You have to do one thing, then the next thing, then the next thing. So, but her why became supporting and helping her husband. And so, of course, now that she started running and she's actually enjoying it and she set a goal, I don't think anyone actually ever enjoys running, but she is now doing it regularly and she's seeing the benefits from it and he's seeing the benefits from it. And it's now become something that they do. It's now become part of her. It's now become it now has become what she does. She gets up and she runs, and she's built enough data now, or enough consistency over time, that to get up and run feels easier than not running, because she doesn't want to fall back on her goals. But of course, now what's happened is the next thing is she's starting to look at her vaping. And she's like, I don't think this is really good for me. I don't think it's good for my running. She can feel it in her lungs whenever she's running. So she's now decided that she wants to give up vaping. But here's what happens. This is what she was telling me yesterday. So she said that she lies in bed at night and she makes a plan in her head. Now, she didn't tell me what that plan is, so I'm just going to hypothesize what that plan is based on my own experience. So she makes a plan in her head, such as, tomorrow, I'm not going to vape. Tomorrow, I'm going to be strong. Tomorrow, I'm going to wake up in the morning. And we've all done this, right? So just you insert your own internal dialogue into what I'm saying. She wakes up in the morning and she goes, tomorrow, I'm not going to, this is what I think. Tomorrow, I'm not going to vape. Tomorrow I'm going to get up in the morning and she tells herself she's going to feel a certain way, right? Because she's feeling very purposeful, because it's very easy to feel purposeful from a place of comfort. How many of us have lay in bed comfortable and warm and maybe feeling a bit fat because we've like eaten, can't say that word. There was a whole issue in the company this week. We've now coined fat Kate. People got very offended by an email that I sent, which was sent with good intent. Now I'm like, I have to be very careful what I say. So how many of us have lay in bed and felt like, felt fat, felt overweight, felt like we've eaten and drunk too much, but we're comfortable and we're warm and we go, tomorrow, I'm going to get up early and I'm going to run. I'm going to get up early and I'm going to go for a walk and I'm going to go for cardio. And we feel super purposeful. And we can't even imagine feeling any other way, because in that moment, we are so purposeful. And then we wake up in the morning and the alarm goes off and it's 6 a.m. and we go, ugh. And we're like, and then we question our life choices and we go, why did I want to run again? Like what was it? Like, why did I, and we can't even remember why we wanted it. How many people have done this? Like, say me in the comments if you've done this, right? You wake up in the morning and you genuinely cannot believe why you wanted it. And you question your life choices and you're like, do I really need to be thin? Do I need to be whatever? And so the dialogue starts. the dialogue starts and you go, well, I can run later. Well, I could come, I could go to work. I could walk in my lunch hour, or I could walk later, or well, when I come home from work, like I guess I could do it this evening. And so because we don't want to move from this place of comfort, we make up all the excuses in the world as to why we don't have to do it right now. And so this, I imagine, is what happens with my friend. She wakes up in the morning and the night before she's been super purposeful, but now it's morning and she has to get out of bed early and go to work and get her daughter up, and she just feels like nobody bounces out of bed in the morning and goes, yay, let's start the day. Like even me. And I love my life. And I wake up most mornings at 6 a.m. and I'm in the office by 7. But even I wake up in the morning and I don't go, yes, I can't wait to get out of bed. Like I don't bounce out of bed with vitality. I wake up and I'm like, oh, I'm awake. Oh, I'm a bit tired. And then did I sleep enough? Did I sleep enough to feel okay? Like, am I going to be tired later? Everything in my head is run through the filter of how I'm feeling in that moment. And so I was chatting to my friend and she said, I have these plans. I make these plans in my head and I wake up in the morning and I don't follow through. I don't follow through. Like I just go about my day normally and I get a cup of tea and I have a vape and I get up and I go to work and I continue to vape. And she said, this has been going on now for days and I'm completely and utterly perplexed. Like, why do I feel motivated when I'm in bed? And then why can I not wake up in the morning and follow through with what I said I would do? I laughed when I was talking to her and I said, it's because you're human. She was like, no, 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 I know that, but why not? I was like, no, no, you really don't understand, right? It's because you're human. So let me break down what I mean by that. So all of us has an ideology. We all have an ideology. What is an ideology? An ideology is something which exists in your head, and it is the perfect representation of you. It is the you that in your perfect world with no limitations you would be. And maybe you admire someone who's, a self-made woman. Maybe like a lot of people say they admire me because I have, built this company. I have managed to do a lot in fitness. I homeschool my kids. I'm a very driven, very purposeful, very motivated individual. And a lot of people aspire to be that, right? They want to be purposeful and driven and they want to be a self-made woman and they want to be, wealthy and have money, and so they have this ideology of who they are and they try on how that would feel if they were that way, right? And in their head it feels amazing. It feels amazing to be that way. Or they look at fit people on Instagram or people who built a lot of muscle and they look at them and they're like, oh, and they can try on. We can all try on our body. We can hypothesize how that would feel. Now, if you've never achieved it, it is actually only a hypothesis. You don't actually know how you would feel when you had that or if you had it. But we can try it on and we can say, oh, wouldn't that be amazing? I would love to be that way. And then there's other people who go, there's no way I would want the pressures of Kim Constable. There's no way I would want to run my own business. Imagine how scary that would be. They try it on. They're like, oh, no, like it doesn't feel good for them. But for many people, they try on being, fit or successful or self-made or could be compassionate or kind or any of these things. They try it on and they run it through their ideology and they go, that feels so good, right? So all of us as human beings have an ideology. It's basically who we want to be in the world, in a perfect world, who we would be. But then the problem is that we live in a body. We do not, unfortunately, live in our head. If we lived in our head and our dreams were reality, we would be walking around the most purposeful, successful, well-built, ripped, fit people in the world, right? If it was as simple as dreaming it. But what I said to my friend yesterday is a goal without a plan is just a dream. And that's not my saying. I think it's actually, I want to say it's Walt Disney's or someone. A goal without a plan is just a dream. So I said to her, the problem is you're human and you live in a body. And you're not taking into account the fact that your body seeks comfort. Our bodies are comfort seekers. Our bodies do not want to do the hard thing because they're wired for survival. Our bodies are wired for homeostasis, and they're wired for keeping an equilibrium. Homeostasis is basically just your body trying to create predictability, patterns of predictability. That's what homeostasis is. So whenever you get up in the morning and you go running, because you've decided, because your ideology, right, in your head, your hypothesis of who you want to be has said to you, you should get up in the morning and go running. And you get up in the morning and you go running. And after about 5 minutes, you're like, yeah, this is good. I'm feeling so good. This is wonderful. When you start running, you're like, the fresh air. This isn't as bad as I thought. Yeah. After about 5 minutes, your body starts ringing homeostatic alarm bells. Your body starts going, oh, no, 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 no. This is not good. Your blood pressure rises. Your skin gets hot. Your limbs start to ache. All of these things start to happen, right? All of these things start to happen. And it feels super uncomfortable. And you think that it's because you are limited. You go, oh my God, I'm so fat. I'm so unfit. I can't even run for 10 minutes, for God's sake. Like, I am so limited as a human being. You make it mean that you are limited as a human being. But what you're not recognizing is you're not limited as a human being. Well, you are limited, but you're not limited in the way that you think you're limited. That's just your internal voice in your head beating you up all the time. What you're not recognizing is your body is pushing back against your ideology, because your body does not like change, especially sudden change. Like, Kim has not run ever in her life before. Kim usually lies in bed until the very last minute when her alarm goes off, and then she drags herself out of bed, into the shower, has a cup of coffee, hoofs some breakfast into her, and then drives in her car to work. That's Kim's homeostatic norm in the morning. Kim's homeostatic norm is not running. So your body is going, what the are you doing? What are you doing? What are you trying to do to us? Your body does not know that this is actually good for you. It thinks that keeping everything regulated and normal and safe and comfortable is good for you, because your body is not your brain. Your brain, your ideology knows what's good for you. Your body hasn't a fucking clue. Your body hasn't a clue. Your body just wants to keep everything normal. Even if you are obese, even if you are on the cusp of having to have a life-saving operation because you have made very bad choices and got yourself into a very bad situation, with your weight and your health over the years. Once you start doing things that are good for you, your brain is not able to communicate with your body that this is actually a good thing, right? Your brain and your body wants to keep everything the same. That's what its goal is. So the minute your ideology spurs action, your body starts pushing back. So whenever my friend wakes up in the morning and her ideology the night before is saying, I am the kind of person who does not vape. I am a fit and healthy person. I am a person who is purposeful and can achieve their goals and can do these wonderful things. That's what her ideology is saying. And then she wakes up in the morning and she tries to apply her ideology to her body, and her body's going, no, 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 no. This is not how we do this. I need some comfort in the morning. In the morning, we wake up, we have tea, we have a little vape. That's what we do. And then we get in the car and we drive to work and we have another little vape. Like, why are you trying to change things? Right? This is what your body's saying to your mind. What's going on here? Like, what the fuck? Like, stop. Right? Your body wants to keep everything the same. So I'm here to tell you that it's not your fault. It's not your fault. The state that you've allowed yourself to get in, those extra pounds that you've been carrying, the fact that you cannot show up and follow through on your fitness goals isn't your fault. It doesn't mean that you're lazy or that you're unmotivated or that you're limited or that you should be punished, or all of all of that negative self-talk that you have in your head, that the ways that you beat yourself up for not following through. They have absolutely no place here. Because whenever you separate your feeling and your judgment of yourself from the data, which is, I have an ideology, but I also have a body, and these two things are going to work against each other every single time. Suddenly you look at it in a completely different way. You go, oh, interesting. There's my body pushing back against my ideology. It's a really amazing way to reframe it. But one of the ways that you can you can reframe it is to really figure out what it is that you're going for. What is it that your body is going for whenever it's trying to stop you upholding your ideology? And what I actually wrote here was it's like swimming against the tide in the ocean. Anyone who has ever swum against the tide in the ocean will know how hard it is. But do you blame the ocean? Do you go, this bloody ocean is bad? This ocean is bad. This ocean is it should be punished. No, you're just like, oh crap. When you're swimming in the ocean, you're like, oh well, I don't do I do the breaststroke. So you're in the ocean and you're trying to get back to shore and you're swimming and you're like, I don't really seem to be going anywhere. And you swim a little harder and you're like inching forward and then you realize you're swimming against the tide. That's what you're doing every time you try to uphold your ideology and your ideology hits your body. It's literally like swimming against the tide. That's exactly what it is. The problem is that we are comfort driven. Our bodies are comfort driven. And that isn't a problem, actually, because that is what keeps us fit and healthy and evolving as a human race. It's done us a very good turn having us be comfort driven because the human race continues to evolve. So clearly our body knows something, but it doesn't always work for us being comfort driven. We're comfort driven and our body wants to keep a homeostatic norm. Why does it want us to be comfortable? Well, because if you didn't have homeostatic alarm bells ringing every time you did something that pushed your body outside of its comfort zone, you might die. You have to have alarm bells ringing in your body to keep you safe because otherwise we would push ourselves to exhaustion. We would push ourselves beyond limits. We might jump off a cliff. Like if your body didn't go, oh, hang on a wee second, that's not a good idea because you might die, we might like jump off a cliff and then we wouldn't survive. So we have to have this inbuilt alarm system to keep everything as an equilibrium, but we also have to recognize when it's serving us and when it's limiting us. And it's limiting us whenever it's pushing against our ideology. So when someone doesn't follow through on their goals, it's usually because of one of three things. Okay. I'm going to talk about these three things in just a second. What I've written here, though, is the problem is most of us don't want to admit that we're comfort driven because we have deemed it bad. When we were young, our parents punished us for being lazy. So we thought that being comfortable and taking care of ourselves was bad. Whenever you have an ideology and then you wake up in the morning or you go to uphold your ideology, like I'm going to diet, I'm going to lose this belly that I've had for ages. And so I'm going to go on a calorie controlled diet. Ideology. Prep my food, have it all laid out. It's wonderful in the moment. I'm not hungry, so it feels fine to uphold this. And then what happens is I get really, really, really hungry. And suddenly I get a body feeling. And it doesn't feel pleasant. I'm like, I'm hungry. And maybe I'm hangry, even worse, right? So now I'm hungry. And now I'm like, And now I'm questioning my ideology because my ideology was easy to uphold when I was comfortable. But now suddenly I'm uncomfortable. And so I start to question my ideology. Do I really want it? Do I really want to lose the belly that much? Is the belly really that bad? Well, I can eat this now and then I can diet tomorrow. So we have this whole story that we tell ourselves, but what you have to recognize is this is your body trying to get you back to a homeostatic norm. This is your body trying to push you back to normality. Because you know what normality is? When we feel this feeling, we eat. But what are you doing? Like, we feel the feeling, we eat. Where's the food? Your body's going, hello, Kim. Like, hello, we're hungry. Hello, is there anybody coming? So have an ideology built when you were comfortable, felt wonderful. Now suddenly you come up against reality, which is I'm hungry and it doesn't feel good and I feel uncomfortable. And in that moment, that's when many of us are not able to actually uphold our ideology because we choose comfort over what's best for us. But here's the really amazing thing. The really amazing thing is when you push through the short term, discomfort, when you step into the discomfort, when you embrace the discomfort, when you know that the discomfort, one, won't kill you, and two, is only going to last for a short time, and then it will become normal, and you'll be like, oh, and suddenly it won't be uncomfortable anymore. It's just like whenever you first Trying to think. Whenever you have a baby and it's your first baby and you're like, oh, I can't wait for the baby to come. I'm so excited. It's going to be so wonderful. And you have an ideology of how it's going to be being a parent because you've seen the movies and you've read the books and you've seen other people with kids, and it doesn't really seem like it's that bad, right? All hypothesis, no data. And then the baby comes. And for the first couple of days, you're like, you're running on adrenaline. The baby cries. Oh, you wake up in the middle of the night, you feed the baby. And then after a couple of weeks, you just wish to God that you could put that thing back in. Because now you're in the depths of discomfort. You have sleepless nights. If you're breastfeeding, you have cracked nipples. You never get a moment to yourself. Your brain never switches off because you're on high alert for when the baby cries. You're on a treadmill of changing diapers, and then once your baby gets older and you're weaning them and you're constantly changing clothes because you're feeding them and they're spitting it up all over themselves, and you're constantly rocking them because when you think that they're tired, they're not really tired. They just want to be held, and you have to hold them and rock them for a good 45 minutes before they'll actually fall into a deep sleep. And you don't know any of this before you have a baby. You just think, oh, wonderful to have a baby. And then the baby comes, and very quickly the reality of the situation kicks in until, of course, it becomes normal. And waking up in the middle of the night becomes normal, and feeding them becomes normal, and you get really good at just going, oh, they're okay, they'll be 2 more minutes, and the baby's crying, but you're not like anymore. You're like, you'll be fine, I'll get you 2 seconds, you're finishing what you're doing quickly or whatever, and you are going to feed your baby, but you know that the baby's not going to die if they don't get a nipple in their mouth within 3.5 seconds. And so it becomes normal. It's still hard, but it's not as hard as it was because it becomes very, very, very normal. And then very quickly you can't even imagine ever being out without that baby, and you wonder what the hell you used to do with your time. And whenever people say, oh my God, I'm so busy, and they don't have kids, you're like, yeah, okay. Because being busy takes on a whole new meaning whenever you have kids, right? That's kind of what it's like doing a fitness program. Except the reason why we persevere when we have a baby is because what's the alternative? Like, literally, what is the alternative? If you're a sane person and you're not, on drugs or have mental health issues, whatever, we're assuming a normal, sane person, not sane, that's a terrible word, but normal, we're assuming a normal person here. What's the alternative whenever you have a baby? You're not going to leave them in a cafe somewhere. Although I did actually leave my child once in reception in the gym when I went in to run, and I set her down in her carry cot, went to the changing room to get changed. It was a small gym. It's very, very small, not private gym, but it was at a club in a local hotel. Sat her down, ran up the changing room to put something in the locker, came back down, went in, got on the treadmill, and was running on the treadmill. And after about 10 minutes, I was like, am I missing something? She was my third child. And then I was like, oh, and I looked out through the glass doors into reception. I was like, shit. And I jumped off the treadmill. I ran out and I picked up my baby. And I looked around in case anyone noticed. And the girl behind reception goes, I thought that was your baby. And I saw you running away on the treadmill, and I wondered when you would notice. I was like, oh, shit, sorry. And I like ran in, I set her down beside the treadmill, and then I kept on running. And so what happens is it becomes normal. Just like whenever you've had a baby for a while, it just becomes normal. Whenever you follow through in a fitness program, it becomes normal. But you have to figure out first, right? You have to figure out why you don't follow through, because figuring out your why not, figuring out your comfort trigger points that you choose over your ideology is really super important. So here are the 3 reasons. I'm sure there's many, many more, but here are 3 of the reasons that I came up with as to why people don't follow through. So the first is, and many of you who followed me for a while will have heard me talk about this. The first one is called I want it. Okay. I want it is when your why isn't strong enough. You want it. So this is different than wanting it. Like, I want it. It's like, I want it. Let me give you an example. Again, those of you who followed me for a while will have heard this example, but it is the funniest one ever. So Ryan and I were lying one Sunday watching Queen of the South. Great series, by the way. And he got a text message from one of our kids who was at the gym. And he said, can you come collect me at the gym? So Ryan said, I have to go to the gym and collect Kai. I'll be back shortly. I said, okay, perfect. Thank you. And so I'm lying there, whatever, waiting for him to get back. We paused the show. So I pull out my phone, scrolling through Facebook, and I see this ad come up. And the ad says, be fluent in Spanish in 3 months, or your money back. And I was double your money back, I think it was. And I was like, 3 months or double your money back? So I immediately clicked on the ad. Now, I had wanted to learn Spanish for a long time. In fact, every year when we go to Spain, which we do usually several times a year, I come back going, or whenever I'm there, I go, I'm going to learn Spanish because my kids actually, well, one of my children speaks fluent Spanish. When the kids were younger, they all spoke Spanish fluently because we had Spanish nannies. And so I understand an enormous amount of Spanish. Like when it's being spoken, because we had it in the house all the time. So I understand an enormous amount of Spanish. And the little Spanish that I know, I actually am told that I have like a really, really good accent. Okay. So any Spanish people will say to me, oh my God, like your accent is amazing. Whenever I speak Spanish to them, like say, thank you, or, I order water or beer or whatever when I'm away, all the Spanish people respond to me in Spanish because they think that I'm Spanish because my accent is so good. And then I'm like, no, 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 no habla español. So I saw this and I was like, wow, oh, okay, this is going to help me learn Spanish, right? In under 3 months, because it was a guarantee. And so I clicked on it. I skimmed the sales page. I went down to the price. It was $3,000. And I was like, and I paused for a minute. I was like, am I willing to spend $3,000 to do this course? And then I was like, yeah, has a guarantee, right? Guarantee. Like, and even if I don't do it, I'm like, no, this course is obviously the best for learning Spanish. 3 months is such a short time frame. I'm going to do it. So I clicked to purchase. So my husband came back from the gym and I was like, I just bought a Spanish course. And he went, you bought a Spanish course? He said, I was only away for like 10 minutes. And I said, I know, but like, and I said to him, it's guaranteed, blah, blah. And he goes, how much was it? And I said, $3,000. And he goes, I was only away for 10 minutes and you just spent $3,000 on a Spanish course. I was like, yep, and I'm going to learn Spanish in 3 months. So I pulled out the Spanish course, I think, that week. And I was like, okay, I'm going to schedule time every day. I'm going to do it. Did I schedule time every day? No. Just one day I thought, well, I'll just do the introduction, right? I'll just do the introduction. And so I did the introduction and I, watched it and I was like, oh, it's 20 minutes long. Oh, it's really okay. So I was like, there's so many other things I could do. Like I'm sitting here in the office thinking there's so many other things I could be doing right now. So anyway, I'm watching this 20-minute introduction. And at the end of it, I'm like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to have the time to do this course. It's going to take a lot of time because he said you have to practice every single day. You have to watch the courses. You have to do all the work, whatever, kind of like all the things that I'm always telling you guys, like you have to go to the gym, you have to do the work, whatever. So, did the introduction and never did any other part of the Spanish course. And people kept saying to me, how's your Spanish going? And I'd be like, yeah, no, it's not. And they're like, have you not done the course? Yeah, I did the introduction, but yeah, I'll do it again. And Ryan kept saying to me, how's that Spanish course coming along that you bought, that £3,000 Spanish course? I think he was offended by the 3,000 actually. And I said, no, haven't done it yet. Yeah. And so a month went by and everyone kept asking me, and then another month. And then it got to the point where I was like, they would ask, how's the Spanish course coming? Because it became a standing joke in the office here with all the girls. I'd be like, no, it's not coming along. So I realized after a short period of time that I didn't really want to learn Spanish. I wanted to want to learn Spanish. I wanted to want to learn Spanish so much. But wanting to want to learn Spanish is one step too far removed from actually learning Spanish. Because if I really wanted to learn Spanish, I would have shown up, scheduled time in my diary, followed through, made the time, and I would have done it. Because when it's important to you, you find a way. And when it's not, you will find an excuse. And that is something I know from experience to be tried, tested, and true over time. But the problem was I really, really, really wanted to want it. And wanting to want it is not enough. Do you see what I'm saying? So actually, here's an update on the Spanish course for those of you who followed me for a while and know this. My mum is now doing the Spanish course. She's been learning Spanish through Duolingo for a long time, and she actually really wants to learn Spanish. She doesn't want to learn it. She wants to learn it. And so I gave her the course and I gave her the logins the other week, and she messaged me. She was like, this is the best course I've ever done. She goes like, I just like keep it playing in the background whenever I'm in the kitchen and I'm just, listening and responding. And like her Spanish is coming on. Like it's unbelievable how good she is. So the course really does work. And the difference is my mom actually wanted to learn Spanish. So she committed the time. She watched the module. She shows up. She does the work. I just want to learn it. So what happens with people in fitness programs is They want it. They're inspired like I was. Like every time I went to Spain, I was inspired to learn Spanish. But I didn't really want it enough. And that's the same as a lot of you guys. You see fitness models, or you see people in the gym, or you see people on stage, and you're like, "Oh, I would love to do that." But it's not really a case of you want it. It's a case of you want it, because whenever you are confronted with what you actually have to do to achieve it, you're like, nah, no, no, it just, and then you come up with all these kinds of excuses. But rather than being honest, which is what I was, because I'm very at cause with my choices, I was like, yeah, it's just a case of I want it. Like, I clearly don't want it enough to do it. I didn't make excuses like, oh no, I just don't have the time, or it's too complex at the minute, or to be honest, I'm working on this other project over here in the business, and that's why I'm not doing Spanish, because we come up with all these kinds of excuses because we think that it means something about us, right? But it was a case of, I thought I wanted to learn Spanish. I got the data of what it would take, and then I realized I didn't want it enough. Why does that make me a bad person? If you really want to get fit and healthy, you will. Honestly, that's just the bottom line. Maybe you don't want it enough, and that's okay. And by the way, I'm going to give you two other things that it could be, because maybe you do want it and you just have a missing resource, but you have to be open to the fact that you really just don't want it enough. And there's nothing wrong with not wanting it enough. You just have to be honest about the fact that you really don't want it enough. You just want it, which is completely different than actually wanting it. So that's number one. Number two, as to why people in Kim's world, why people do not follow through on their goals, is because they do actually want it, but you don't make a plan to achieve it. And this is probably actually one of the most common ones. So, most of you watching this are strong, purposeful, intelligent, insert another really positive adjective here, human beings. You are very strong women. Like, you have born children, you have raised teenagers, you have worked multiple jobs, you've taken care of elderly relatives. You have shown up in your life and done the really hard thing many, 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 many times. Many times. So it's not that you're not capable. It's not that you're not strong. It's not that you don't have the emotional resources to do hard things. You do. You absolutely 100% do. But for many of you, the reason why you haven't followed through in a fitness program is because you simply don't have a plan. Your ideology says, I want this. And then when the data starts coming in and your body starts pushing back, you don't have a plan to overcome your body because you didn't know it was going to happen. So here's what happened with my friend. She was telling me about, she wanted to stop vaping, and she had this plan, this ideology every night of how her day was going to go. But then when she woke up in the morning, she just started vaping. She just continued on with her day as normal. And she was like, I don't understand why I do this. And I said, because you don't have a plan. And she went, what do you mean a plan? A plan for what? She goes, the plan is to give up vaping. And I said, that's the higher level plan. Like, that's like the I want to start a business plan. That's the I want to get fit plan. That's not a plan. That's just a higher level goal. But whenever you set a goal for yourself, you actually have to look at all of the possible things that could go wrong and create a plan to mitigate that risk or mitigate those things whenever you hit up against them. So I said, had you ever thought about what you would replace vaping with in the morning in the short term until you came over it? She was like, no. I said, if I were you and this was me, because I'm a big goal setter, because I've done it many, many times in my life and I do it every single day. Remember, a goal without a plan is just a dream. So I said, if I were you, I would have said, okay, I know when I get up in the morning, I normally have my cup of tea and I have my vape with my cup of tea. So I'm not going to have my cup of tea at that time in that way in the morning, because one goes with the other. So I'm going to get up in the morning. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to get up and I'm going to run, or I'm going to go straight to work and I'm going to have my cup of tea and work, or I'm going to, do this other thing, or I'm going to meditate, or I'm going to do yoga. I'm going to do something. You have to replace the vaping with something else until it becomes normal not to vape. Because you can't be your ideology straight away. Just because you thought about it doesn't mean it's going to happen straight away. You have to set a plan to achieve it, because your body is going to push back. And she was like, oh, I never thought of that. You have to you have to really understand that it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. Your body's going to push back. But whenever you plan for that hardship in advance, then you will achieve your goal. Like, how many times do you go away somewhere? You go on a day trip? Like, what do you do before you go on a day trip? Most people check the weather. Why do they check the weather? Because they want to know, do I need to do I need to bring an umbrella or a waterproof coat or extra socks if you're going hiking or whatever? You mitigate risk before you go. Very few people plan a day trip without checking the weather or plan a weekend away without checking the weather. Why do you check the weather? Because you want to know what you're going to be up against. You want to create some kind of predictability and you want to plan for, like if it's going to be really, really sunny and you burn easily, well, you're going to have to bring sun cream because otherwise you're going to get burnt and you're going to have, you're going to be uncomfortable and unsafe. So you check the weather to plan what's going to happen. And sometimes there's unforeseen things that happen. Sometimes you get there and something happens that you could never have foreseen, but you deal with it when you're there. Sometimes there's like a flood and you're like, holy shit, I didn't realize that I was going to need welly boots. Oh, well, I got wet feet. Next time I'll know. So it's the same with setting a goal to create a fitness program or to stop vaping or to get up in the morning and run or people are like, oh, I really want to eat healthy. And this was another thing my friend said to me. She was like, and I really want to eat healthy. She goes, and I got to the supermarket to go and, cook to do shopping, on my day off on Monday. But I realized I didn't have a plan. Like I really want to eat healthy, but I hadn't meal prepped for the week. I hadn't planned for the week. I hadn't decided what I was going to do. So she started to see all the holes in her plans. She was like, I want to eat healthy. Ideology, want to eat healthy. Reality, got to the supermarket. I have no idea what I'm going to cook for the week. So you have to plan. You have to think about all of the possible pitfalls that you're going to come up against, and you have to plan for them. So let's say you've decided that tomorrow morning you're going to get up and go to the gym. Just because you're feeling good now doesn't mean you're going to feel good in the morning. You have to say, well, how do I normally feel in the morning? And be real, right? Do you wake up and go, yes, I'm going to start the day? No, most of us don't. Most of us wake up and go, oh, what time is it? Oh God, 6. And we close our eyes for a minute and the body falls back to sleep and go, oh, okay, wake up. And so you have to plan for that. Okay, when my alarm goes off, what am I going to do? Given that I'm going to feel like shit. And then you have to say, okay, well, what if I have insomnia? What if I can't get to sleep? Am I still going to get up at 6? What am I going to do then? What if I wake up in the middle of the night? What if one of the kids wakes me? Say you have young kids. What if one of the kids wakes me in the middle of the night and I'm awake for an hour? Am I still going to get up at 6? You have to think of all of the possible things that could go wrong in advance to mitigate risk, because these are all of your why nots. These are all of the excuses that you give yourself for not following through. I'm tired. The kids were up in the middle of the night. I had insomnia. I was thirsty. I just didn't feel like it. Whatever your why nots are, you need to bring them all out in the open. And for most of us, the why nots are pretty consistent across the board. Like if you're a real comfort driven person and you like to be comfortable, then your why not is going to be comfort driven. If you're the kind of person who is scared of feeling, I know someone, I'm actually working with someone on this at the minute. This person is scared they're actually scared of how they're going to feel if they're tired or if they're grouchy or whatever. And so they do everything they can to avoid feeling that way. And so if they wake up in the morning and they haven't had a good night's sleep, it triggers this fear of, oh my God, like, am I going to be able to get through the day or whatever? But now that she's aware of that, she's now working to overcome that, this friend of mine. And so because she wakes up in the morning and she's like, okay, I didn't get a great night's sleep and I feel like shit, but you know what? I promised myself I was going to get up and I was going to do my cardio and I was going to start my day right. So I'm just going to do it. So now she's starting to build data over time that even if she didn't get a lot of sleep and she doesn't feel like it in the morning, she can still get up and she can still follow through on her goals and she can still function. And guess what? She's becoming a far better person because of it, because she's upholding her ideology. And that always feels good. So the third reason is that I can think of is why people don't follow through is you don't actually realize how hard it would be. And then you realize you didn't realize when you set the goal how hard it would be. But then once you realize how hard it's going to be, you realize you just didn't really want it enough. And that's okay. But you have to admit that and be real about it. That's like my sister, I was saying yesterday, doing the bikini show. So she decided she was going to do the bikini competition. And she did it because the people in the gym promised her it was going to be easy. It'll be easy for you. The weight will come off really quickly. But their version of easy and her version of easy were two completely different things, because what easy means to you is not what easy means to me. And so whenever she got deep into prep for the bodybuilding competition and she realized how hard it actually was, she looked at this next 4 weeks of pushing even harder and she was like, nah, it's not worth it to me. The payoff wasn't worth it to her. She didn't really want it enough. Her reason for doing it wasn't strong enough to keep her going. And she gave it up, and she didn't even care that she gave it up. I was like, oh, you were 4 weeks out from your show. You had everything booked. Like, you had your bikini done. You were going away to London. I was going to go with you. I was devastated on her behalf because my why was super strong. I would have wanted to stand on stage. And if I had been as close as she was, oh my God, I never would have given up. But she didn't want it enough. It was too hard. Once she realized what she would actually have to do to achieve it, she realized she just didn't want it enough. And that is what happens with a lot of you guys as well. And that's okay. Maybe you were like, I want to be like in stage athlete shape. And then you get halfway into doing what needs to be done in order to achieve that. And you're like, yeah, no, I don't want to be in stage athlete's shape that much, actually. I thought I did, but I had no data as to what it would take to achieve it. So, decided that I don't. So I'm going to give up. And that's perfectly okay. But you have to be real about it. The problem is we're not in reality about our choices. And whenever we're not in reality about our choices, we beat ourselves up. We just beat ourselves up and we tell ourselves that we're bad people and we can't follow through and we're lazy and we're unmotivated and all of this negative self-talk, right? It's not none of that. It's just that you had a missing resource, or you wanted to want it, or you didn't want it enough, or you hadn't made a plan. Whenever you start to separate your personhood from your actions, everything changes. Everything changes. Like, we had a thing last week in the company. Many of you will have known about it, where I sent out an email in the morning saying, inserting the person's name in the email with the title, say, Kim is fat. Now, that was designed to make someone go, because I tried on when I wrote it how I would feel if I got that email, and I would have been like, huh? Really? Like, that's a weird title. I wonder what this email contains. Because the goal of a subject line in an email is to get the person to open the email. That's the only goal of the subject line. It's just to get the person to invoke curiosity, to get them to open it. So I don't have any emotional attachment to the word fat. You're either fat or you're not fat. Just like you either have muscle, you're either muscular or you're not muscular, or you're male or you're not male, or you're female or you're not female. Fat is just a term to describe someone who's carrying excess body fat. And so I put this in the email, and it was very, very triggering for a lot of people. And I couldn't have anticipated it because it's not triggering for me. And it ran through several people in the company. Those emails were proofed by many, many people in the company, and not one single person had an emotional reaction to it. Because in Europe, we don't seem to have emotional attachments to the same things that Americans have emotional attachments to. And that's not a judgment, that's just data. Like, we talk about money openly, we talk about sex openly, we say the word vagina. Like, it's, we talk about being fat or not fat. People call themselves fat. There's not like the culture of fat shaming here that there seems to be in America, maybe because we don't have the same, obesity pandemic and things. And so I could never have foreseen what happened. Now, there was a lot of people felt very, very hurt and upset and very triggered by the word. And I sent out a very heartfelt apology, because I would never have wanted to make that. I would never have wanted to hurt people ever. Like, that's not my goal. My goal is not to make people feel bad. And once they opened the email, those who opened it and read it realized it was the point of the email was to connect and share my struggle with their struggle, because we've all looked in the mirror and said, I'm just fat. And so the email was supposed to be read in the first person, like, Kim is fat. And it was supposed to jolt, to make you go, you know what, Kim is fat, and maybe it's time to do something about it. I just couldn't have anticipated the emotional reaction. So why am I telling you this? Because there was a lot of, whenever people get hurt and upset, they get angry. And when they get angry, they want to punish. And so there was a lot of punishment of me and of the company and of the marketing team. People were like calling for the person who wrote the email to be fired. This person should be fired. I was like, that would be me. Can't really fire myself, sorry. And so there was no marketing team wrote the email. I do the copywriting in the company because it's faster and easier. We did have a copywriter on staff for like 18 months, but to be honest, it was just quicker. It's just quicker for me to do. And I love doing it. It's my superpower. So, well, clearly not. So I wrote the email. But anyway, the reason why I'm telling you this is because there were a lot of people who were, really attacking me personally and saying, I should have done this and I should have done this and I should have done this. And it was insensitive and it was this and it was ever. And they were just angry. And then I had a lot of support, a lot of people messaging me message of support saying, because there was a lot of people who were like, this is crazy. Like, why are you reacting to this? Because what triggers one person doesn't trigger another. So I had a lot of people message me and say, don't worry about this. You got this. We love you. We're in support of you. And, they imagined that I would be feeling very, very hurt and upset by the whole thing and very beaten by the whole thing. But to be honest, I wasn't at all. I felt regret that I had caused hurt and pain to so many people. I wrote a very heartfelt apology, but I didn't make it mean anything about me because I am able to separate my actions from my person. Kim is not bad, just like Kim is not fat. So you could say, well, Kim has fat. Maybe it wasn't a great email headline in that respect, but I made a mistake. I was very, very well intended. The intent was pure. The intent was good, and I made a mistake. And you know what human beings do often, every single day? We make mistakes. So I realized the damage that had been caused. I worked to repair the damage. And at no point yesterday was my joy or my good feeling or my internal feeling about myself in any way affected. I was able to separate my personhood from my actions. And I worked very hard to repair the actions. I responded to every single person in the Facebook groups. We sent out, reply emails. The team worked very hard all day to comfort those who had felt very triggered by it. I put a lot of energy into fixing the problem, but at no point did I feel bad about myself because my intent was good. My intent is always good. So the reason why I'm telling you this is because when you don't follow through on your fitness goals, when you don't show up for yourself when you said you would, it's not that you are a bad person. You're not. You're very well intended. It's just that you came up against a limitation. And that limitation is your why not. You wanted comfort. And that's okay because we all want to feel comfortable. We all want to, keep a homeostatic norm. Your body is pushing you to keep a homeostatic norm. Or maybe you had a missing resource. Maybe you didn't know what it would take. Maybe you needed, new running shoes, or maybe you needed a new routine. Like my friend who wanted to give up vaping, she didn't realize, oh shit, I need a new routine. But she was like sitting going, why can I not follow through? Like, what's wrong with me? I was like, there's nothing wrong with you. Your why not was that you had a missing resource. So you just needed a new routine. So when you don't follow through on your goals, you have to ask yourself, what was my why not? What was I going for instead? Or what was the missing resource? So what you were going for instead, like if you're lying in bed and you promised yourself you're going to get up and go to the gym and you don't, what were you going for? Well, you were going to be comfortable. You wanted to be comfortable. You didn't know when you set this goal that you would feel the way you felt when you woke up in the morning. Well, now you have data. Now you know that when you wake up in the morning, you're going to feel this way and you're not going to want to get out of bed. So if your why is strong enough, the next morning when you make the same goal, you're going to try again. But next time you're going to have another hypothesis of what you're going to be able to do. Right. This time I'm going to put my alarm across the bedroom. So I have to get out of bed and go and get the alarm. And then when I do that, no matter how much the bed calls me, I'm going to walk straight to the shower. That's what I do when I have to get up early in the morning. My alarm goes off and I go, and I turn it off and I pull back the covers. I get straight out of bed. Straight out of bed. I've committed to myself that when that alarm goes off, I get straight out of bed, no matter how bad I'm going to feel. In fact, I don't even give myself time to process how I feel in the morning. I just get out of bed and I just walk to the shower and I get in the shower. And see, when you're there in the shower and the water's washing over you and then you're out of the shower and the light's on, your body starts to wake up. Then you put on your clothes and then you get in the car and you grab your smoothie and then suddenly you're in the gym and you're like, oh, I don't really feel like lifting this weight, but you lift the weight and then and then you're like, oh, and then you're pumped and then you're in the gym and everything's normal. You just have to keep overcoming step by step by step by step your body's need for comfort in every single moment and not let yourself off the hook. It's a step by step by step process. And when you start to do it, you will realize your why not, your why not, your why not, your why not, your why not. if you stay very present and very mindful in the process, you will figure out what your why not is and you will be able to overcome it. But your why has to be strong enough. And maybe there might be some times when you have to admit to yourself that you just wanted to want it. You wanted to want it more than you wanted it. And that's okay. Or maybe you thought you wanted it, but you realized what you would have to do to get it. And then you realize you just didn't really want it enough. And that's okay too. But if there is still an inkling that you do want it, maybe you just need to change your goal. Maybe you need to switch to CrossFit. Maybe you need to switch to Zumba. Maybe you're the kind of person who likes to work out from home. You just have to keep searching for the thing that keeps you moving forward. Rather than banging your head up a brick wall and constantly buying program after program after program that you're not going to follow through, you need to figure out, why am I not following through? Because your ideology isn't strong enough to push you forward clearly whenever you come up against a limitation. So you have to figure out, what is the limitation? What is the why not? Figure out what the why not is and work your way through it. And that is how you achieve any goal that you set for yourself. I did try in my head. I told myself I was going to not go so long today, but I got really into the content and here we are 55 minutes later. Okay, so hopefully you enjoyed this session. Today you have an exercise in the PDF that we have created for you, and you are going to figure out your why not. You're going to write down what is your why not. And in fact, here's what I would love for you to do. I would love for you to write down every single time you haven't, not that you haven't achieved a fitness program, you haven't achieved a fitness goal. That's far too big. Think of every single time you've told yourself you're going to get out of bed and you didn't. What was the why not? Why didn't you get out of bed? Think of every single time you told yourself you're going to be on a diet and then you didn't follow through in the diet. Why not? Not even a diet. Think of a specific time when you said, I am going to have salad for dinner, and instead you had pizza. Why did you choose pizza? What were you going for in every single moment? Because your why not is not one reason. Your why not is many, 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 many reasons, many decisions over the course of a day and a week and a month and a year. And when you can figure out your why nots in every single moment and what you're actually going for, your life will transform. So I would love for you to share your why nots in the group. I'm going to meet you back here again in a few hours, in 3 hours actually, for another Q&A. And we are going to dig deep into your why nots, bring all your why nots to the Q&A, and we are going to dig deep into those, and I'm going to help you figure out what your why nots are. And then we're going to meet back here tomorrow for another session for D-Day. And I hope that you guys are enjoying this content as much as I'm enjoying teaching it. Okay, see you back here in 3 hours. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Go and do the exercise, and I'll see you for the Q&A. Sending you a big kiss. Bye-bye.